What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so I want to cover Superman and Batman. Now, this was actually a series that ran from the year 2003 all the way up to 2011. And of course, it was stopped only because the New 52 had launched, and of course, we had a complete reboot in the DC universe. Now, with that being said, this series was actually very loved by a lot of fans. Matter of fact, two of the storylines were actually turned into animated movies that people also loved as well. And so I kind of want to sit down and cover some stories from this actual series. Now, with that being said, the first storyline we are going to cover is called Public Enemies. Now, this is actually one of the big storylines that kind of brought fans into the book, but at the same time, it was turned into an animated movie. But basically, you have Superman and Batman become the most wanted people in America because President Lex Luthor wants them arrested. Yes, you heard that right. President Lex Luthor. And so let's go ahead and dive into Volume 1 of Superman and Batman Public Enemies. I do hope you enjoy. And so when it comes to the opening pages of this book, we actually do pick up with the retelling of the origins for Batman and Superman. Now, here's the thing though, because when it comes to this retelling, right, it's really more saying, hey, these are the origins of Superman and Batman. But here's the thing though, the book is right now is trying to tell you, but look what each character actually went through. But on top of that, you can see why they went down the path they did. And what I mean by that is, yes, both heroes lost their parents. Batman, they were gunned down. And for Clark, well, you know, his entire planet blew up. But either way, both characters lost their parents. But here's the thing though. For Clark Kent, for Superman, he had the Kents. And technically, he had a more lighter life. But when it came to Batman, even though he had Alfred, he had to watch his parents die in front of his eyes. And truthfully, it affected him so much that he kind of did grow up in a more darker way. And so right now, the book is saying, but look at these characters. They both went through a lot, but at the same time, they grew up differently. Some in a darker way and some in a lighter way. And of course, it's kind of saying if you're new to Batman or Superman, this book right here can give you a quick rundown of their origin stories. And so that is the moment where we actually do pick up with Superman. Now, right now, you have Superman flying over to Star Labs. Now, here's the thing though, because when he does fly over to Star Labs, it's really more because something is happening right now. And of course, he wants to make sure that everybody is okay. Now, when he does arrive, unfortunately, he is hit by someone or something so hard that he is sent flying the other direction. Now, here's the thing. Only a handful of characters are actually able to do that kind of damage to Superman. And we come to find out it is actually Metallo. Now, Metallo may look like a regular cyborg, but here's the thing though. Metallo is actually a cyborg with a kryptonite heart. And of course, for Superman, that right there is his main weakness. And so with Metallo having that heart, he's actually able to do some damage to Superman. Now, of course, our big boy Blue does try his best to battle against Metallo, but unfortunately, it's not a fair fight. Now, when it comes to Metallo, he was once human, but someone had put his mind into a cyborg's body. But here's the thing. Apparently, he came here to Star Labs for some unknown reason. But the thing is, though, he keeps saying, I did not want to let anyone die today at all. Like, honestly, I came here for one thing, and that was it. I did not plan to fight you at all, Superman. And then he actually leaves just like that. But apparently he's trying to end something. But again, we have no idea what he's actually trying to end. But then we actually pick up with Batman. Now, when we do see Batman right now in Gotham City, but matter of fact, he's in Gotham City Cemetery. And the reason why, because someone has been going around digging up different bodies left and right, looking for one particular body. And of course, right now, you have Batman trying to figure out what in the world is happening right now in his city. Now, that is the moment where he is actually confronted by, of course, Superman. And you have our big boy Blue Tail Batman. You are looking for Metallo, because right now Metallo's cyborg body is falling apart. But at the same time though, Metallo is trying to find his old body. And the reason why, because Metallo is actually from Gotham City. But on top of that though, he was a thief in Gotham City. Now that right there is going to be somewhat important for this storyline. Well, really, it's very important for the storyline, but also the next few down the road. Either way, when it comes to Batman, he's kind of like, okay, so you're telling me one of your bad guys is right now back in Gotham looking for his body, because he was technically a human, but his brain was put inside a cyborg body. Okay, well now we have to find Metallo. And just like that, Metallo does appear. And so with Metallo appearing once again, you do have Batman and Superman work together to actually fight against Metallo. Now, here's the thing though, because this fight right here is actually not a fair battle. And what I mean by that is, when it comes to Metallo, he does have a kryptonite heart, which of course makes his battles against Superman very easy, especially this one right here. But on top of that though, when it comes to Batman, Batman is just a regular guy. Yes, he has gone up against gods and other kind of creatures, but at the same time though, it's still not going to be an easy battle when it comes to a character like Metallo, because Metallo is able to actually beat down on Superman. And so of course, he's also a challenge for Batman as well. Now things do get even worse, because you have Metallo actually shoot Superman with a kryptonite bullet. And when it comes to that kryptonite bullet, of course, it does hit Superman, and now there is a possibility he might die. Now, when he is shot, you do have Superman fall into a grave, and Batman does go in the grave as well to hopefully save his best friend. The problem is though, while you have Batman right now trying to get that bullet out of Superman's body, well, that is the moment where you have Metallo actually bury both Batman and Superman alive in the grave. And so technically right now we can say our heroes were just buried alive. But then we jump over to Lex Luthor. Now, when we do jump over to Lex Luthor, it's him right now technically being briefed by Captain Atom about another situation right now that's actually happening. And of course, right now, a piece of Krypton is on its way right now. And of course, it's about to hit the Earth. Now, here comes the problem though, because this huge piece of Krypton, if it does hit the Earth, it's game over just like that. But on top of that though, when it comes to this meteor, this piece of Krypton, it also evolved into kryptonite thanks to radiation. And so right now, this one particular piece of Krypton is on its way to Earth, and it could wreck the Earth completely and be game over for the entire human race. Now, this is Captain Atom right now telling Lex Luthor what is happening at the moment. Now, like I said earlier, Lex Luthor is actually the president at this point in DC Comics of America. And so of course right now, Captain Atom and a few other heroes actually does work for Lex Luthor. But at the same time though, it's right now Atom saying we should involve Superman, because this is technically a piece of his home world right now about to hit his adopted world. I feel like he would come in and help us protect the world. But here's the thing though, Lex Luthor does not want the help of Superman at all. Now he does tell Captain Atom the reason why, because Superman has saved the world so many times. It's about time for us to kind of step up and for once save the world by ourselves without his help. And so when he says that, we do see a superhero team right now that's going to work with Captain Atom to find a way to save the world from this meteor that is technically a piece of Krypton. But then we jump into chapter 2. Now, when we do jump into chapter 2 of the storyline, we do pick up with Batman and Superman still technically buried alive, and you have Batman right now trying his best to technically save the life of Superman, but at the same time, save his own life because right now they have been buried alive. Now, that is the moment where you do have Batman being able to kind of blow a hole in the ground they're in right now. And the reason why, because Batman knew that underneath the ground there is Gotham City sewage. And of course, they found a way out of it, stay alive, but at the same time, now Batman and Superman are able to walk in the sewers that could lead them back to the Batcave. And of course, when they do arrive, at first they are confronted by a very high voltage security gate that you do have Superman being able to actually take most of the shock, even though he still has that kryptonite bullet inside of him still. But once they're able to get through that defense right there, you have Alfred walk in and say, "Oh, it's Batman and Superman. Oh my God, you both look like complete crap. Go ahead and come inside and let me do some medical help on both you guys right now. Especially you, Superman, because right now that bullet is technically killing you off." But then we jump over to Lex Luthor. Now, when we do, it's Lex Luthor right now watching one of their attempts, the American government right now, trying to blow up this kryptonite meteorite or asteroid. Either way right now, of course, they try to use nukes as a way to technically blow it up. Unfortunately, though, the nukes did not work. Now, here's the thing, though, because if you are reading this book, you're wondering how in the world were they able to send nukes that far across space to basically try to blow up a meteorite or asteroid. And the problem is, though, we kind of find out Lex Luthor used boom tube technology. Now, when it comes to boom tube technology, it is illegal across the world. And on top of that, that kind of technology came from Apocalypse, New Genesis, the New Gods. Either way right now, that kind of tech is illegal across the board. But you have Lex tell Captain Atom they have no choice, because right now a meteor is about to come towards the Earth. And if it does, the Earth is basically doomed. And so right now, I'm okay breaking all kinds of laws to help save the Earth. But at the same time, though, their plan actually failed. Those nukes did nothing to it at all. But then we jump back over to Batman and Superman. Now, when we do, you do have the two characters right now technically getting patched up by Alfred. Really, Batman at this point is okay, but for Clark, he just got fixed up by Alfred. Now, once you have our hero being fixed up by Alfred, you then have Superman walk over to Batman. Now, here's the thing though, because Batman is angry at Superman. And the reason why, because Batman just learned something very important. See, in this point in DC Comics, or this original timeline of DC Comics, Batman was never able to actually figure out who killed his parents. And that right there is actually very important. And the reason why, because in this book right now, apparently in the files of Metallo, it's basically said that Metallo could have been the one who had killed the Waynes, because he was actually in Gotham the same night they got killed. But on top of that though, he had a very similar gun that was actually used to kill the Waynes off. And so right now it's Batman saying, did you know that your bad guy could have been the one who had killed my parents? Did you forget that I have been looking for years and years and years to figure out who killed my parents? If you knew this, why didn't you tell me? Now, here's the thing though, because you have Superman say, the reason why I didn't tell you, because it seemed like someone had just updated his files so that they knew that sooner or later you would find that information in that file and begin to question the idea if Metallo was the one who killed your parents. Meaning that I believe someone knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. And that right there is very scary. Except that is the moment out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, a portal opens up and you have an older Superman appear. And when this happens, you have Batman and Superman right now kind of like, who is this guy right here? And why does he look like you, Clark? An older version of you, Superman. Like, what in the world is going on right now? And when it comes to this future version of Superman, his main goal right now is to kill off Batman and Superman. And that right there is actually very important. And the reason why, because this guy apparently came from a future where everybody died. The world died. And this is actually very important. And the reason why, because we have seen a lot of stories kind of imply the idea that when the human race dies, Superman would still be alive. And technically, he would be the last person on the entire planet alive. And that right there is very crucial. And the reason why, because right now he's telling our heroes in the future, everybody died. It's just me. By myself. And so I came here to prevent my future. And I know what I have to do. I have to kill off Batman, but I also have to kill off Superman, my past self, to make sure the world actually does survive. And that right there kind of tells you something big happens that apparently ends the entire world, and it's thanks to Batman and Superman. Now, here's the thing though, because he was actually able to beat down our heroes because he knew all their moves. And when it seems like he would be able to actually kill off our heroes, luckily for our heroes, his time ran out. It seemed like he had a random time limit that he could be in the past. And now that limit was hit, and of course, he had to go back to the present day, his present day. But right before he leaves, he does tell both our heroes, if you're gonna try to save the world, Lex Luthor is going to be the reason why the world actually ends, or part of the reason why the world actually ends. And speaking of Lex Luthor, this is the moment where we actually do see him right now do something even crazier to kind of say, you know what, I am the president, I am finally in charge, and I feel like I have the right to do what I want to do. And what I mean by that is you have Lex Luthor right now do a press conference. Now, when it comes to this press conference, this is Lex right now telling the world what is about to happen right now. That technically there is a meteor or asteroid right now about to hit the Earth. But he also says this asteroid is actually a piece of Krypton after it had blown up. And of course, it has been traveling this entire time. And of course, it did turn to kryptonite thanks to radiation. But right now, it is about to hit the Earth. And when it does, it's game over for the entire planet. Now, of course, right now, that does freak out the public. But here's the thing, though. That is what Lex wanted. And the reason why, because he didn't say, I feel like this was a master plan done by Superman, saying that he came here to our Earth to technically build up our trust and then wipe us out when we were technically not looking or not ready to protect ourselves, because we have always been looking up to him. And now we can see it was all a fat lie. And so basically right now I'm saying Superman must be arrested for his crimes. And so I will basically put money out there for anybody to get the money if they're able to actually capture Superman and bring him here to me. And so just like that, Superman is now technically the most wanted person in America. And so when we jump into chapter 3, the first few pages begins the process of the villains coming after Batman and Superman. Now, the reason why I say villains and not heroes, because later on you will have other heroes come after Batman and Superman. But for right now, you just have the bad guys, because with that money being put out there by Lex saying that if you're able to capture Batman and Superman, I will technically pay you for it. And so of course you do have a lot of different bad guys right now coming after our heroes. Now, while you do have our heroes actually battling against these different kind of bad guys, you also have Lex Luthor right now being interviewed by Lois Lane. And of course, this is Lois right now trying to figure out how in the world Lex could say that this is all Superman's fault? But at the same time, why does he have the right to say that Superman is the most wanted person in the world? And of course, when it comes to Lex Luthor, his main thing is to not explain his reasoning, because if he does, of course, the world will know that he's one, a big, huge, fat liar, but on top of that, they could figure out his master plan. Either way, while you have Lois Lane doing that, our heroes are fighting against not your D-list characters, but not even your C-list characters, more kind of like your low-tier B-list characters, but these characters are technically easy for Batman and Superman to handle without any kind of problem. But then, of course, that is when you have more stronger characters appear to give our heroes more problems. And what I mean by the powerhouses is that you have like Mongol appear, Solomon Grundy. Now, these two characters are powerhouses, but in different kinds of ways. And what I mean by that is when it comes to Mongol, right? Mongol is a powerhouse for Superman. He could go toe-to-toe with Superman. But on top of that, though, when it comes to a character like Solomon Grundy, though, even though he's not on Superman's level, he's still a character who gives Batman a run for his money. Now, with that being said, though, right now you have our two characters coming after Batman and Superman. Now, here's the thing, though, because when it comes to Solomon Grundy, why would he come after Batman for money? What would a zombie-like character need money for? And on top of that, Mongol, why would he need the money for? And that right there can tell you something is wrong here. Now, on top of that, when it comes to Solomon Grundy, usually when he does speak, he can't really speak in a very proper way. Most of the time, he always says the same line over and over again. But here's the thing. When it comes to Solomon Grundy, right now it seems like he's able to hold an actual conversation, and that right there is different. Now, when it comes to Mongol, usually when he fights against somebody, he tries his best to talk some smack, but right now Mongol is not doing that. Now, you do have other characters actually appear. Lady Shiva, Nightshade, like other characters who are technically powerful against their actual hero, Batman or Superman. But here's the thing, you have our heroes realize that right now, they're technically right now being controlled by someone else, and it has to be a psychic. And of course, it is Gorilla Grodd. And with Gorilla Grodd being there, he's able to technically control the minds of these other bad guys to kind of help him get the money that he wants from Lex Luthor. Now, of course, our heroes are able to actually defeat all of them, including Gorilla Grodd. Ah, man, I can't believe I said Gorilla God. Either way, once you have our heroes being able to actually deal with these different kind of villains, of course, you do have more and more appear, but our heroes are actually able to deal with them. Now, here comes the big problem, though, because once our heroes are actually able to defeat all these different kinds of bad guys, they think right now, okay, we can finally relax, or, oh, look, we finally have some backup. And of course, that is the moment you have Captain Atom appear, Black Lightning, Starfire, Power Girl, Katana, the Green Lantern, John Stewart, and also Major Force. Now, of course, most of these characters are actually good guys, except Major Force. But here is the big thing, though, because when they do appear, our heroes believe that these other heroes are here to help. But in reality, they work for Lex Luthor. And right now they're saying, we came here to technically arrest you and lock you up right now and hand you over to President Luthor. And so, of course, it does lead into a battle with our heroes, Superman and Batman, fighting against the forces of heroes that actually work for Lex Luthor. Now, here's the thing, though, because when it comes to this battle, it doesn't last as long as the last chapter did when it came to our heroes fighting against the bad guys who were technically out there to get the money that Lex was offering if they were able to actually capture Superman or Batman. But when it comes to the battles between the heroes versus the other heroes, well, it's honestly more of we're going to arrest you, but it's more of Batman and Superman realizing that, listen, we cannot stay here, because if we do, there is a huge possibility that we could lose. But at the same time though, we kind of find out there are two spies on the team that works for Lex Luthor. Power Girl, and of course also Katana. Now Power Girl for Superman and Katana for Batman. And once the battle is over, you do have the rest of the team realize, oh, Power Girl left with Superman, and so did Katana with Batman. Hey, do we have traitors on our team right now? But then we jump over to Lex Luthor, and when we do, it's really more Lex Luthor right now meeting up with Amanda Waller. And right now you have Amanda Waller really expressing her concerns when it comes to Lex Luthor right now technically doing what he is doing. You know, of course, right now putting a lot of blame on Superman when we all know he did nothing wrong here. And matter of fact, when it comes to the public, it really shows that right now the public doesn't really believe what Lex is actually trying to say. Either way right now, it's her wondering what is his master plan. But on top of that, what is his connection right now with the actual asteroid that's on its way to actually hit the Earth? Because right now the book is saying Lex has something up his sleeve. Lex does have a connection to what's happening right now when it comes to the asteroid. The question is, what though? Now, while we're here with Lex right now, we do see him right now technically pumping kryptonite into his body. But at the same time, it seems like Amanda Waller sees some kind of power suit that he is going to wear to fight against Superman if he has to, if it comes down to it. But right now it's Lex saying, I'm hoping my heroes should be able to actually capture Superman and Batman. And so then we jump over to Tokyo. Now, when we do jump over to Tokyo, we actually do pick up right now with Superman and Batman. Now, when we do, they are with Power Girl and Katana, but this is the moment where we are actually able to find out or get our confirmation that when it comes to Superman and Batman, they had spies. They had Katana and Power Girl, and they were able to gather information about Lex Luthor and his plans thanks to these two ladies right here. Now, here's the thing though, because the reason why they're in Tokyo is to meet a child. But apparently this child is very smart. And this is going to be our introduction to a newer Toyman in DC Comics. Now, with that being said though, before our heroes are actually able to go find this child, they are confronted by the heroes once again that work for Lex Luthor, but now they're in Tokyo. Now, the fight does go on for a few more pages, but here comes the problem though, because when it comes to Katana, she does cut off the arm of Major Force. And with that happening, of course, there's now going to be a huge explosion because this man right now contains a lot of energy. And of course, if that energy is right now released without any kind of control, he is technically going to be somewhat similar to a nuclear bomb. And so, of course, right now you have our hero say, we have to save the lives of the people in Tokyo. Now, you do have Captain Atom realize that technically he needs to help the innocent people first before going after Batman and Superman. And so you do have Captain Atom being able to kind of take most of the blast from Major Force, but we're left to believe that both heroes could be dead, or one of them is dead, but the other one is still alive, just not here at the moment. Now, the rest of the heroes that was working for Lex Luthor, they're also knocked out. And apparently only those characters were, because Power Girl and Katana are awake still, and so is Batman and Superman. Either way, they do go on their way to meet a certain kind of child, which is going to be Toyman. But then we actually pick up with the JSA, better known as the Justice Society of America. Now, when it comes to this group right here, you technically have them right now talking to Hawkman and also Shazam, or better known as Captain Marvel, to basically use these two characters right now to take out Batman and Superman. Because with Lex right now having the entire world saying that Superman is a bad guy, that he is trying to wipe out the Earth, it's right now the JSA saying, we need to calm everybody down. And I have been talking to Wonder Woman. And technically right now, we are afraid that with him out there right now, going all over the place, but also causing more problems all over the place, we are afraid of a World War III. So Hawkman, Shazam, go out there and find the two characters, Batman and Superman, and stop them before we do have a World War III. Now, the last few pages of this chapter is really more of our heroes right now on their way to actually pay a visit to the newer Toyman in DC Comics. The problem is though, on their way there, Power Girl, Superman, Batman, also Katana, they are actually confronted by Shazam and Hawkman. Now, of course, our two new bad guys for this storyline only go after Batman and Superman. And so we do get a lot of pages of this battle. Now, here's the thing though, because a lot of folks do forget this when it comes to Superman, that when it comes to the different kinds of weaknesses he has, Kryptonite is not the only one. On top of that, magic. Magic is a weakness for Superman. And with Shazam being all about magic, he is literally the perfect weakness for Superman. Either way, you do have Hawkman right now going after Batman as well. And so technically you do have our heroes kind of struggle. Now, our heroes do try their best to kind of switch positions. So Batman does get Shazam, and you also have Superman get Hawkman to kind of help each other out. But the thing is though, these two heroes, Hawkman and Shazam, they came prepared to battle against Batman and Superman. And so honestly, this battle is not a fair battle. Our heroes actually do lose a battle. And so we're left to believe that Hawkman and Shazam were actually able to capture our heroes just like that. But when we get into the 5th chapter of the storyline, it's really more now focusing on the sidekicks at first. And what I mean by that is, of course, when it comes to Batman and Superman, you have the Bat family, and you also have the Super family. So Superboy, S-Girl, or Supergirl, you got Robin, Nightwing, Huntress, Steel. Like, you have all these different kind of characters who are technically sidekicks to Batman and Superman. And right now, you actually have them breaking into the White House. Now, of course, we know why, because of Lex Luthor. And we're left to believe the reason why they're here right now, because they're here to save Batman and Superman. Because we actually saw Shazam and Hawkman being able to actually defeat Batman and Superman. And so we should believe that Lex does have them right now somewhere safe, but at the same time saying, yes, I am right now holding your two heroes technically as my hostages or my prisoners. Either way, when they do arrive, you actually have Lex say, I don't have them. And this is actually very huge, because it's kind of like, wait a second. We watch Hawkman and Shazam actually defeat both Batman and Superman. What do you mean you don't have them? Does that mean that technically the JSA is not helping you out right now to capture them? Did our other heroes actually help Batman and Superman get away from Lex Luthor? If that's the case, where are they? Now, because Lex Luthor is, well, Lex Luthor, he knew that sooner or later the Bat family would try their best to actually come after him, just in case he was able to actually grab both Batman and Superman. Now, with that being said though, he's kind of like, no, I don't have them, but at the same time, I knew you guys would come if I did. And matter of fact, I made sure the entire White House was set up in a way to technically take care of every single one of you guys just like that. And so of course right now you have our heroes, or the sidekicks to our heroes, being able to be taken down by Lex Luthor just like that. But then apparently we pick up in the far future with that future Superman once again. Now when we do, this is right now technically building up towards a later storyline, but when we actually do pick up with the future Superman, he's right now sitting in Metron's seat. Now Metron is a very important character, but for right now, he's technically not. He's just mentioned and moved on. And the reason why, because you have Captain Atom from the present day right now in the future. After absorbing the energy of Major Force, he was thrown into the future, where right now he apparently is meeting the future Superman. Now remember, when it comes to our future Superman, in the future, the entire world died. Basically, it was game over. And that's why he went to the past to kill off his past self and Batman to kind of help the future out. Now, here's the thing though, because if that's the case, Captain Atom should not be there right now. He should actually be dead already if something happened that far long ago. And so, of course, right now, you have Atom saying, you cannot believe that this is the actual future, because when it comes to time, it's technically a fluid. It can constantly change shape. It can constantly change just like that. And so with that being said, the future is never set in stone. But on top of that, though, we kind of find out that this future Superman was actually working with Darkseid. Now, we're not told in what kind of way, but you have Atom saying, if I'm here right now, that means your past self is not going to give up until the world is actually saved. And if you did give him a message to say the world dies in the future, he is definitely not going to give up until the world is actually saved. But now getting back to our focus on the sidekicks for Batman and Superman, we do see them right now technically being saved by Hawkman and Shazam. Now this is kind of crazy because at first you're kind of like, okay, they're here, but now they're saving the sidekicks to who are technically the two most wanted people in America right now. Aren't they working for Lex Luthor? What's happening right now? But then we see Hawkman actually begin the process of breaking out the Superman family who are right now trapped in one of Lex Luthor traps. But the way he does it, he's kind of more like Batman, using tools. And so of course it's kind of like, that's not Hawkman, because Hawkman would use his mace to break open the trap to save the other heroes. This has to be Batman. And then when we shift over to Shazam, we can tell it's not Shazam, it is actually, of course, Superman. And so right off the bat, we know these two guys took out Hawkman and Shazam, but took their outfits as a way to get very close to, of course, Lex Luthor. Now, this is Superman right now wanting to go ahead and just basically kill off Lex Luthor, because Lex had gone too far, especially with the idea of putting the sidekicks in a position where they could have got killed or hurt by Lex Luthor. And so this is Superman right now just wanting to use his heat vision. But at the same time though, you have Batman kind of like, do it, please do it. Like, if you do it, I will help you hide the body. But at the same time, it's Batman saying, actually, we probably shouldn't do that. Like, come on, we're heroes. Let's not kill him this time. Either way, though, you do have our heroes realize that technically right now, with all the sidekicks being saved, including Crypto, the super dog, you do have our heroes leave Lex right there to realize that technically everything he has been trying is not going to work at all. But then we get into another problem, and that problem right there is technically right now Lex Luthor pulling out his power armor suit, his brand new one, to say, okay, listen, everything else I have tried had basically failed. I had relied on other heroes and bad guys to help me stop just two guys, and apparently no one can do it. So you know what? I am going to do it myself. And so this is him right now saying, let me use my power armor suit to take out both Batman and Superman just like that. But then we see our heroes go back over to Tokyo. Now, when they do, of course, that is the moment where you do have Toyman right now revealing his new actual, like, Megazord as a way to fly out into space to actually take care of the asteroid that's right now heading towards the Earth. Because, hey, let's not forget, that asteroid is still heading towards the Earth right now. Even though the last few chapters were really focusing on the idea of our heroes right now being the most wanted people in America, we have to remember the entire Earth is technically doomed at the moment if that meteor does hit the Earth. And so right now you have Toyman say this Megazord should basically be able to take someone out there to deal with that certain problem. Now, of course, you have Clark saying, let me be the one to actually drive it, to fly it up there. But then that is the moment where our heroes are actually confronted by someone else. And of course, it is Captain Atom. He's there once again to say, hey, I'm here again, but this time I'm here to actually help you guys. I came back from the future. And of course, I now know what happens in the future because of future Superman. But let me explain. Let me be the one to actually drive the Megazord into space to technically deal with the meteorite. Because if I do go out there, at least I die and not you, Superman, because the world needs you to stay alive. That is the way to make sure the world technically doesn't fail. And so with that being said, you actually do have Captain Atom get on the Megazord and fly out of there. Now, technically, when he did arrive, he did knock out Clark. But of course, when Clark wakes up, Homeboy is already gone because Batman did agree to let Atom take the Megazord into space to deal with the actual meteorite. And that leads us into the section where you technically have the story jumping back and forth between two different kinds of things. So right now you have technically Captain Atom trying to stop the meteorite, while you have Superman right now fighting against Lex Luthor in his power armor suit. Now here's the thing though, because I really do want to focus more on Superman fighting against Lex Luthor rather than Captain Atom right now dealing with the meteorite that's about to hit the earth, because either way Homeboy is going to be able to actually save the day. But focusing on more of Superman and also of course Lex Luthor in their fight, you have Lex tell Superman that when it comes to Lex's power armor suit, the technology of it is not from Earth, it's from Apocalypse. Now that right there is very important because it seems like right now a lot of different characters are working with him, including Lex Luthor of the present day. So Homeboy has future Superman, apparently Metron maybe, and also present day Lex Luthor. But the thing is though, on top of that, it kind of shows that Lex Luthor did have something involved when it came to the meteorite heading towards the earth, because Apocalypse told him about the meteorite, which means that there was some kind of big plan going on. But the problem is though, the book doesn't tell us at all. But the battle does end with Superman being able to actually defeat Lex Luthor. But he does tell Lex Luthor, because you told me everything, I had everything recorded. And right now it's being broadcast across the entire world. You are going to be the first president to go to prison. And you have Clark being able to defeat Lex in his power armor suit. And then you have this moment where you have Batman able to have this conversation, this one-on-one conversation with Lex Luthor. And of course, this is Batman right now kind of saying you lost the battle, you're going to jail, like technically you failed. Oh, by the way, what Clark told you is true. Like right now, your whole confession is being broadcast across the world. But here comes the big shocking moment though, because this is where you have Lex say, oh, I know you're Bruce Wayne. Like I know Batman is Bruce Wayne. And now you're probably wondering, is it true that Metallo was the one who actually killed off your parents? Now, this is actually very, very crazy, because even though it's Lex right now saying like, hey, you know, I know you're Bruce Wayne, it's also Lex saying, I was the one that put that information out there to make you freak out, to make you wonder, ooh, wasn't him, wasn't Metallo that killed off your family. Now, Batman does kick Lex out the window, but that was really more of defense because technically Lex was able to stab Bruce Wayne. But either way, you now have our heroes wondering if he survived, because right after that, the entire building collapses. And you have Clark being able to grab Batman, but at the same time, though, they're wondering, hey, did Lex survive, you know, falling on the ground, but also an entire building but really falling on top of him? And to really go ahead and close off on today's video, we actually do pick up right now saying that Lex Luthor did survive, but technically he's no longer the president of America. The world is looking for him. The world knows that technically he was the reason why the world could have basically failed. But right after he reappears to go into hiding, he says this right here: there will be a reckoning, a crisis. And of course, this could be a way to lead into Infinite Crisis. Either way, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.